Hey everyone, John here from CONTRABIM, and I'm in the middle of recording our MEP modeling course, and I thought I would share a quick little video here to kind of give you a flavor of what some of these tutorials and modeling exercises are like. So I'm just going to include one here on YouTube and check it out. We'll be going through and modeling up a kind of a typical gas meter assembly for a residential project, but it's a nice little exercise because we go through a lot of the little clicks and settings on pipework, bends, and a number of different valves here. So check it out, have fun. You could probably replicate a lot of this on your own. And yeah, if you're interested in learning more, then check out the course on contrabim.com. I'll leave a link here in the description. All right, welcome back. So our next modeling exercise with our pipework tools is going to be a kind of a typical residential gas meter assembly. So we'll go through and we'll start by setting up our equipment for our gas meter, and then we'll work on our supply side with adding in a pressure regulator. We'll add in our shutoff valve here. Obviously we'll do a little underground, and then we'll also do our output side, which will go to, in this case, we'll set up a few different valves for going to the house or going underground. And yeah, it should be fun, and a lot of little parts and pieces with this. So it's a good exercise for just going through and getting comfortable with snapping pipes, valves, bends, all this together into an assembly just like this. So, okay, let's go ahead and start by, we'll go in and grab our gas meter. Now we can find it here under our MEP library 24, and it's located under our utilities. And you can actually see that this has some settings already kind of set up here. So let's go through. We're just going to reset this back to our default settings here, and just so we can walk through and kind of change these and make some adjustments to get this exactly how we want it. So if we see here in our little 3D preview, we can see obviously the surface color can be changed. So anything that's gas related, I always like putting it on a kind of a yellow surface. We can change our, we actually have this housing on it, so let's get rid of that. I don't like having that turned on. So let's go back. We can, in 2D, we can change our contour pen. Probably just use a black contour pen. In this case, let's give it like a little bit of a yellow fill. And yeah, we can also make it transparent so we can actually see some of our piping coming. Well, actually, there isn't going to be any piping below it, but we could just turn it background. Okay, so next up, let's go and talk about our connections here. So if we look at them here, I think our 1-inch diameter inlet connection is probably a good size to use in this case. Obviously each project's a little different, but 1 inch I think is probably a pretty standard size here. Our connection length, that's probably fine for our connection. Our flange, so that looks like it's way oversized. So let's take this to maybe like 1.5 inches. Let's actually go maybe 1 3/4 for our flange size there. And let's change our width to maybe 1/2 inch. So we'll boost up the size a little bit. And then, yeah, let's go and set this to our MEP system we've established for our plumbing gas MEP system. Okay, so let's take a just mental reminder of our lengths here. Kind of, I always like using nice round numbers. And let's go and just apply it here to our outlet size. So our length was 1.5 inches. We were using 1 3/4 diameter, 1/2 inch on our flange width, and then of course we want to set this to gas. So okay, that's looking pretty good. And yeah, our height for this object. So right now we're set as 10 inches. That's probably in the range. We probably want to be maybe a little closer to the ground. We'll go 8 inches off the ground. So we also have our general sizing here. So let's just even these numbers up just a little bit. And we'll go 14 inches for our height. And I think we're looking pretty good. So let's go ahead and we'll just place this. There's actually one other thing I want to do. I'm going to turn this, because I want to see this showing up on both our home story as well as our underground. I'm just going to set that to home and 1 story down. So let's place this. I'm actually going to just kind of try to get this somewhat close to in alignment with this up here. And there we go. So let's pull this up. There we go. We can see it here in 3D. And now we can just kind of start building on this. So we have a lot of different ways that we can kind of start adding parts and pieces onto it. Let's start here with our pipe. First thing I want to do is just make sure that we are on the correct layer. Of course, we can always go through and adjust these after the fact, but we'll set that, and we should be picking up our settings exactly with what we have from right there. So let's add in just a little bit of a pipe piece there. Actually, now that I'm looking at this here, I feel like those flanges are a little bit wide. Let's shrink that down just slightly. So copy that. Copy that. We'll shrink those. We will delete that pipe, and then we will go and just click on it again. And that looks a little bit better. Okay, so we have a single pipe coming in here. Let's go check our settings real quick. So we'll set this to our gas layer. So now that we're good on our settings, let's I'm going to shorten this radius up just a little bit. Let's go 1 inch. And automatically we'll be adding these flanges as soon as we click. We don't need to change our MEP system because it's automatically going to be added to our gas system, but we're going in that direction. Okay, there we are. So picking up just our settings here, and we're just going to keep kind of rolling over with this. We can offset it just slightly, taking a bend, and we're going to click and go down. So, all right. We are moving right along here. I'm going to add another just pipe segment, and we're going to pull this all the way down. And so now that we have this segment here, we can start working on our valves. We can see that here looks pretty good in 2D. And if we wanted to offset it, we certainly could. We could just take this entire segment. We could pull it over if we wanted to match this up exactly, and then to get that to connect, we would just pull this over as well. So we can always make these little adjustments, no problem. Next up though, let's get our, let's actually take a look at this in section here. So open with our current view. There's our piping, so we can take this, we can stretch these. And with this, we want to make sure that we are at least 12 inches, if not more. So let's actually, I'm just going to take this pipe. We're going to copy it down. Let's go 18 inches for our depth. And so with that, we can just start getting these snapping together. So we can take this bend, and actually within our section here, one of the things that I wish that they would add would be the ability to add piping and bends in 3D here, or sorry, in our section. So instead of, well, we actually have to go in here and we can just take this and rotate it. And so we can copy elements around. Actually, is that not going to rotate for us? I thought we could, but maybe not. We might have to go in here and do a little bit of work on this. Do we have a rotation around this? Yeah, let's send this 270. There we go. Or minus 90. And so that's one way that we can just go through and make that update. So, okay, we are going to be snapping this together, and then we'll go in and add our valves there. So, okay, so there we are. Of course, we could always go in and change this out if we wanted to have different types of connections there. But okay, there we are. Let's go and we can go back to 3D, and let's add in our valves here. So we have a, with this, we're going to have two different types of valves here. We're going to have a shutoff valve, which is going to be a ball type valve, is pretty common here. So let's go and find our ball valve. Obviously our default settings here are quite a bit off. So let's start with our connection. So let's just set this to a 1 inch. All of our, actually, we can actually set this as well. Our flange diameter, we'll set this as 0.5 inch for our flange width. Our outlet, let's make that the same. And okay, so we're looking pretty good except for the actual size of that ball. So let's shrink this down to like maybe 1.5 inches. So that's looking much better. Our height is way off, so let's go down to maybe, I don't know, 3 inches, 2 inches. We want to shrink this way up. Our arm length. So these are usually just really short little handles that we have on there. Unfortunately, we can't change the thickness on that, so it's going to look a little bit funny, but we can shrink all this down and starting to look much more like an actual shutoff valve. So with this, we already have this set to our gas layer, which is great. Our system we don't have to worry about, because as soon as we drop it in here, we now are going to assign this to our gas system. So, okay, there we are. Next up is we need to place our pressure reducing valve. Now we can find that again here in our inline. Down here, this pressure regulated valve is one that we can get looking pretty close to a typical pressure regulated type valve for a gas system. We just need to go through and make some adjustments here as well. So I think instead of changing those settings there before we place it, let's place it this time, and then go and undo that. I need to make sure I'm activated on that tool. So let's activate this, and then we'll place it, and we can take this and kind of swing it around. I think we can grab it from this side, just swing it around so that we're pointing in this direction. And then now we can go through and start making some adjustments, because that looks a little bit funny as we have that set up. So, okay, we are going to go in. Let's first off, our length on this is just way too big. So let's set this to 5 inches and see how that looks. Okay, already looking much better. Our length on this does not need to be that long either. We'll change this to maybe 3 inches. And so we see how this looks in section. That looks much better. And I think I'm pretty happy with this. We can adjust this maybe to 6 inches or go down. That seems fine though. I'm liking the settings there. All this looks good. So there we are. Last thing we just need to do is we'll just snap these together. And there we go. So there's our inline side. Looking pretty good. So now we can just do the exact same thing on the other side. So we'll take this, we'll pick up those settings, and we're just quickly going to just snap these together. When you want to get these exact lengths and fittings working exact, how we have this set here, it's usually easiest to use our manual method here instead of actually using our routing tool. We could give it a shot here for starting with our routing. We just want to make sure that we have these just kind of set up the way that we want. So this is flange. We want to just change that setting here. So we'll set that up. Change this to our gas system, and our elevation here doesn't really matter, neither does our size, because it's automatically going to default to what we have on this side here. So we can start with it here. Let's take it, we're going to go down, and what I want to do is I want to bring this down, and we're going to kind of have a few things coming off it here. Yeah, there we go. Let's finish routing, and then is that below? I think our ground level's right there. So let's just snap this right about here. Okay, so if we wanted, let's go add in a T. So we'll do a pipe T, and we're going to be coming in this direction, and then we can take this off, and I'm going to drop it down as well. And so this is going to be our underground here. So over on this side, we can kind of see exactly where we're at. So we can take this down, and I want to get down to about 1'6". So elevation to current story, let's just see if we can get that directly plugged in. So minus 1'6". Okay. Oh, so that did not work how I wanted it. Let's hit escape, and we'll try this again. So start routing, come over. We're going down to 1'6". We're just going to get it really close here. Okay, that seemed to work. And then, okay, from here, then we can just kind of continue out, and that will be just an underground line going to wherever we need it to go. So, all right, there we are. Now it's time we can go in and add just a few more valves here. So let's add one up on this side. Oh, we'll take this, we can slide it over. Actually, you know what? I want to redo this here. I would like this, instead of being a bend here, let's see if we can get this T placed and in here. So what we'll do in order to get this is let's just kind of extend this over. We'll pick up the settings of this T, and then we're just going to add it directly here. And so now we can add a little T in there. We'll want to go in and we can change our branch connection here. So instead of 3/4, we could send this back to 1 inch with our flange at 1.5 inch. And okay, so with that, we should be able to take this. We can offset it directly within here, and we should be able to find a point here to snap to. And okay, there we go. So now that we've done that, I'm going to take this. We're going to delete some of these out. We'll connect this over here. And I want to add that valve in on the other side. So we'll grab our inline. So this will be our valve going, in this case, to the house. So we can take this, click, take it down, pick up a pipe, a short pipe here. And so we can send this inwards. So that's going to the house. And in this case down here, let's add one more valve. And we'll try to fit it right in here. And there we go. And with this valve, that would be controlling the underground. And then we can always just kind of stop it right here. And so if we wanted to have the option of adding more, we could do that there. So, okay, so we are starting to get there. We've done our inlet side with our shutoff valve and our pressure regulator. We obviously had our gas meter there. We have a valve going to our project, and then we also have a valve going underground. And so that's pretty much it. We could also pull this up here, and so in some jurisdictions you need to have a kind of another special valve called an earthquake valve. So if there's an earthquake, it automatically shuts off the flow here. So we don't necessarily have a specific one here that's set for that, but we can go and just kind of pull up one that's like kind of indicates that it's mechanical here. Like we could set this one as an earthquake valve. So so let's go ahead and we'll just modify some of these settings real quick. Our flange diameter, go to 1.5. Change that so it's the same on both sides. Let's make this a little bit shorter. 2 inches should be plenty. Our height on this is pretty big, so let's change this. These are usually pretty small, so we'll shrink that down. We'll shrink this down, and so now we have just kind of this kind of specialty valve here that we can pretend is a earthquake shutoff valve. So, okay, there we go. So that's a pretty kind of extensive assembly here. We can, of course, just take this and we can move these around. And I think I want to kind of try to compress this up just a little bit. So we'll shrink that up. We can take this entire segment. I'm going to delete it, actually. And let's pull one of these short pipes up. And so once we get this kind of set up, then we can just play with it and try to get it a little bit more compact. And there we go. So looking good. We can always go and check to see if we've done a good job on assembling things. So that's pretty good because we have our entire outlet side assembled, and then we can check the same thing on this side. And yeah, there's our whole inlet side. So I can see that we do have something, like I thought we had connected these over on the outlet side there. What happened to those? Open with current view. So okay, there they are. All right, so that's how you would build up a gas meter assembly. So a lot of little clicks here. So just take your time, go through, get the hang of adding these different little short pipe segments, stretch them out, add your elbows, play with your valves, get these placed where you want them. Yeah, so a lot of little parts and pieces to this exercise here, but overall I think we have a nice little assembly. And so yeah, next up in this that one doesn't want to stick in there. Let's try to get that in. So start routing. So next up in our tutorial sequence here, we are going to be doing kind of moving interior and doing a sink assembly here. So that should be kind of a nice exercise as well. And so yeah, we'll move into the interiors. We'll do a sink assembly. We'll do a toilet assembly. And yeah, then we'll get into some gravity systems as well. So coming up next as part of this tutorial sequence on doing these short little modeling exercises. So if you have any questions on this, leave it here in the comment section, and we will catch you on the next video.